Greetings and salutations, this is Imperator Vespasian and his trusty sidekick.
Hello!
Today we're bringing you our first painted up miniature for all of our hundreds, if not thousands, of figures that we have to paint up for 40k.
Yep.
Yes, this is the first one. I don't know how long it'll be to get the rest done. This is a chapter master of our Chaos Legion. And who are they?
Not a clue.
The Unhallowed.
Yeah, never heard of them.
Never heard of them?
Nope.
No, most people probably haven't. They are a Chaos Legion. Canonically, they pop up round about, well, for any time after 321 M37, which is the 37th millennium, beginning of the 37th millennium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, when did your chapter start?
Not a clue. During the First Crusade.
33, yours topped up. Age of Apostasy. Is it 33? No, Age of... yeah, one of them. Yeah, so this is the chapter master for the Unhallowed. We'll have a look at the figure first. Here he is. He's in standard Space Marine armour. He's got a very nice little power axe, and he is holding a Imperial fist up because he's just totally owned the Emperor's finest. Because that's what these guys do. They just beat the Imperium because the Imperium are rubbish.
Well, the Imperial fists are.
Yeah, well, they were the Emperor's Praetorian, so, you know. So here he is. He's got his little cloak on and everything. The Imperial Fist is a Primaris Marine, so top of the line Marine. And Chaos, of course, don't have Primaris at the moment, but it would appear that they are Primaris coming out for Chaos. I thought it would be a bit odd to get Primaris, but then again...
No, it's not.
Why?
Well, because sooner or later, they're going to, some Primaris Marines are going to convert to Chaos one day or another.
But their gene seed's supposed to be so pure.
Yeah.
Based only on the Loyalist chapters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though Cole himself does actually say, well, that's a waste, isn't it?
Yep.
And chapters who are descended from the Chaos chapters do have received Primus Marines as well. So, you know, clearly they are using Primus. They're using Traitor Legion gene seed. Interesting thing about this chap, he's been strangled. You can see he's having a bad day. But round the back, for any Imperial Fist fans, turns out the guy's not actually out. He's holding his knife there and is just about to finish off the Demon Prince.
Finish off? He hasn't even got a scar on him yet.
He hasn't got a scar on him yet, but he's just about to slam his blade into the guy's helmet. But, you know, so that's to make all the Imperial Fist fans happy, you know, if you're one of those pro-Imperium people.
Yeah, you.
I'm not pro-Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I'm pro-Imperium, I'm just not pro-Emperor. If you get what I mean.
Well, then you're going to get shot.
Are you pro-Emperor? Yeah, you are, aren't you?
My Crusade chapter is, yes.
Yeah, no, I mean you yourself personally. You're very pro-Emperor.
No, not really.
No?
No.
Why not?
I don't think that someone should have that much power to rule the whole empire.
But he's right.
Yes.
How dare you question him?
Precisely. And then I return to chaos or I get shot.
Yeah, so all those despots and horrible people throughout the universe, throughout the history of mankind, well, they just weren't right. The Emperor's right. Therefore, he's got the vision and you should follow him.
And you're dumb and he's a god, therefore you must follow him.
Yeah. Anyway, so who are the Unhallowed? What do we know about the Unhallowed?
Nothing.
Right, they were originally called the Invictors. And way back when...
Isn't Invictus Latin for victory?
Victory, yes. They were called the Invictus, and they had purple armour with black shoulder pads and I think black arms, but the rest was purple. if you look at this chap, he actually has painted out the chapter symbol and replaced it with a tear, which I will explain shortly. So they're chaos, so you know they changed their armour a bit to be purpley. All purple. Maybe they couldn't get black paint in the warp.
Well, I mean, isn't it black in the warp?
We have a lot of red paint in the warp.
That makes sense. Well, no, that's just one planet.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
A lot of purple.
But well, I suppose what you could do is make a planet of purple paint, because you can make anything you want in the warp. So you just make a purple paint planet, and then you can paint all your marines with that.
Yeah, that's a nice move there.
Yeah, they like purple, don't they? Right. So many years ago, M32. No, M37. There was a large amount of warp storms, or there was a very big warp storm, and this Inquisitor was quite Inquisitor Basilius. He noticed that there were a lot of people mutations on the frontier. He really didn't like it. A lot of chaos cultists popping up, because that's what happens when warp storms happen. And he was getting quite upset with this, so he ordered all 300 Space Marine legions on the border to undergo testing to see if they were chaos or not. And he denounced 30 of the chapters as being mutated chaos. And these Space Marine chapters kind of said, well, no, we're not. We're totally loyalists, and there's nothing wrong with our GNC, but the Inquisitor said, we'll excommunicate you. And the Inquisitor said, well, we're going to... You've got two choices. One, you can undergo a crusade and die in the name of the Emperor, or two, we'll wipe you off the records and you never existed, and we'll exterminate all your planets. Yeah? So what would you do if you were a loyalist Space Marine in that situation?
I've got a crusade.
Yeah, that's what they decided to do. They had a meeting that lasted about 3 days, and they decided that they would fly into the Eye of Terror in the Abyssal Crusade. And off they popped into their strike cruisers and their battle barges and all their ships, and they loaded up all their crew, they loaded up all their support staff, they loaded up every single member of the chapter down to the cleaning lady. And they all mounted up and flew into the Eye of Terror.
Never to be seen again.
Not true. No, they were seen again. But as soon as they got into the Eye of Terror, they were immediately ambushed by a Chaos battle fleet that was waiting for them. The ensuing battle was disastrous for the 30 Space Marine legions. Chapters. And they were cut to pieces. Some chapters managed to fight on. The skirmishing lasted centuries. And it was really bad for everybody. There was one chapter that found itself on a planet made of iron. And there were loads of machines on it that kept killing them. There were another planet that was all made of jelly, and that was quite disgusting. Nurgle, that was. Yeah, so it was all quite bad. And that's where these guys pop in. The Invictors fought well and hard. We don't know exactly what they did, but during the ensuing battles, they at some point turned to chaos.
Probably unwillingly.
Probably out of necessity. You see, I like to think that they were kind of forced into it in the way that the Blood Drinkers were. If you look at the Blood Drinkers, they were told by the Mechanicus that there was this planet where a Dawn Spear was, Rogel Dawn Spear. And so they went to collect it, and as soon as they collected it, the Mechanicus stole it and ran away. And they went to the cruiser that the Mechanicus had taken the sword to, and they discovered that the cruiser was actually fitted with a massive gun that was going to blow up their chapter battle barge. So they destroyed the Mechanicus ship. So the Inquisition declared them excommunicated them, giving them no choice but to turn traitor. Although they did turn up in the end and save the day, so yeah. So for whatever reason, all the bad stuff that happened to them, they ended up turning to chaos. And finally emerged from the Eye of Terror as fully fledged Chaos Space Marines in support of Slaanesh. Or with the mark of Slaanesh. Presumably they landed on a Slaanesh world. And I'll come up with some sort of cool ideas for them later. Anyway, shall we get back to the Abyssal Crusade?
Yeah.
In first 100 years of M38, about 800 years after the fleet, after the Crusade had gone into the Eye of Terror, the Abyssal Crusade, a battle barge of the Vopal Swords, one of the 30 excommunicated chapters, came out of the Eye of Terror. And they had a few sport ships. The chapter itself was extremely depleted, but they were still intact, they were still operating. And among them were various companies or just squads of other chapters who'd also survived from the 30 chapters. And they were immediately arrested by Imperial authorities, for obvious reasons. They'd been denounced as chaos. And they were tested by the biologists, and it was discovered that there was no taint of chaos in them whatsoever. Even though they'd spent the best part of 800 years in the Eye of Terror, they were not chaos, which means there never had been chaos. Now, there's several versions of what happens next. Basilius, the Inquisitor, who had been behind denouncing these chapters and getting them all destroyed, leading to many, many raids by now traitor Space Marines on the border. Some versions, Basilius was long dead, and the Space Marines of the Vopal Swords, rather angrily, went and dug up his bones and discovered that he was a Chaos cultist. However, there's other versions where Basilius was called Saint Basilius and he was still alive, but he was remarkably old. It was commented on how old he was. And again, it turned out he was actually a Chaos guy. And he was a traitor, because he'd betrayed the... He'd not only denounced the Space Marines, he'd also arranged for the Chaos fleet to attack them the moment they went into the war. And in all versions, whether he'd been alive or dead, he ended up dead. And the Vopal Swords then gathered up all the people who supported St. Basilius, all the people who prayed to St. Basilius, all the statues of St. Basilius, all the stuff you found in the temples and the servitors. They put them all on a huge space hulk and flew it into the local sun.
That works.
Yeah, thereby removing it. And the Vopal Swords themselves were re-established as a correct Space Marine chapter after all the terrors that they've gone through. Although it would appear that the rest of the chapters are all either registered as renegades or traitors, or they don't know. They don't know what happened to them. So that's the story of the Abyssal Crusade. It's a very short version of the story, but that's pretty much what happened. So these chaps, the Unhallowed, I quite like the idea of them, because I quite like the idea of a chapter that was not chaos and was kind of forced into a situation where they had to align themselves with the chaos gods in order to survive. And they were loyal to the Empire.
You don't know that.
Of course they were loyal to the Empire. All the Space Marine chapters were loyal to the Empire.
I mean, you don't know that they were fast into it.
Well, I don't think people happily, certainly not Space Marines happily joined Chaos.
Some did.
Some did, sort of. You see, if you think about these particular chaps, the Unhallowed, I like to think that they would consider themselves to be Imperial, but in the way that the Black Legion considers itself to be Imperial. They believe that the Emperor was a traitor, and they believe that the Empire is a traitor. And the way that these guys have been treated, especially if they'd found out from a god, a Slaneshic god, or any of the gods, that they'd been betrayed by the Empire, it would lead into an extreme resentment of the Empire. And even Imperial programming that a Space Marine receives is not 100% accurate. Space Marines are human after all. Not that the Emperor believed it, but they still are. You're just staring at me blankly.
No.
No? Any questions?
I don't think so.
So what do you think of the figure?
Very well painted.
Just bronze with a bit of purple.
Yeah, but it's precise painting.
It was absolute hell putting this guy together. I had to cut all his knees off and everything to make him into the right shape, and swap hands around and do all sorts of stuff to it to get it to fit together properly. And to get him at the right angle to be hanging like that. It's not easy to get a model to make it look like it is actually hanging with its own weight. It took a lot of experimentation. But that's the guy. Yeah, I kind of think of him as a sort of, kind of a, not necessarily bad. I mean, Slanesh isn't bad, they just want to spread happiness to everybody, don't they? In a very permanent sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to spread joy and pleasure to the world.
And pain.
But that's pleasurable to Slanesh. So flaying someone alive can be quite entertaining to, I presume, not to the person who's been flayed alive, but to the rest of the Slanesh followers who are doing it. I presume they all enjoy it very much.
Make musical instruments at people's spines.
Yeah, and I'm sure that listening to the beautiful music made by the musical instrument made by a spinal cord is very nice. I should imagine it sounds very good. But yeah. I like the idea of the Unhallowed. So that's why I went with them. Anyhow, well, that's about it, I think, for this. I can't think of anything else to add. You got nothing else to add?
No.
No? Well, there you go. What I will have to do is I'll try and do some more research, but I'm afraid I've pretty much reached the limit of all my bookshelves to find out anything more about this chapter. It's just I really like the chapter colours, and I thought it was I wanted to do something Slanesh-y. So this is what I came up with. So let us know what you think in the comments, and thank you very much for watching.
That's everything from me.
And everything from him.